Ingram Smith, Bud Elliott back again for another episode of the Nolecast. So, Bud, as always, we'll thank our friends in New Iberia, Louisiana, hand selected peppers for a fantastic end product that can be put on almost any meal and improve almost any meal. Always, we are fortunate to work with the good people at Louisiana Hot Sauce, title sponsor of the Nolecast, and it wouldn't be a Nolecast without us tipping the hat to them as we begin. So, here is a game preview. A game that Bud and I feel, I guess, mildly optimistic about. Certainly one of the games on the schedule that there's a legitimate chance of you winning. So we'll jump into this here, try to figure out what we can expect to see on Saturday. Try to avoid some other kind of empty debates, in my opinion, and we'll try to give you an idea as to how we think it plays out. But with that, Bud, let's jump headfirst into the Syracuse game preview.
3:30 on the ACC network. So I think.
So get your credit cards out. If you haven't done your holiday shopping, you're going to get, there'll be some vegetable dicers and some nonstick pans and all the things that every house needs.
Hey, man, like I can take that super knife they sell and cut it on that pan, and that pan will not mess up, but also like the knife will not go dull. So it's the irresistible force against the immovable object here.
It truly is.
Every ACC network, targeting a review break.
You can tell a lot by a product based off their sponsors. If you're listening to trash bag terrestrial radio and the only thing you're hearing are government paid ads or something like that, you can, figure out if you're listening to a podcast and you're fortunate.
I love the ones
repeat sponsors, then, it's a decent product. So
I love the ones that like the National Train Safety Administration, whatever it's called, like they've decided to dump their entire advertising budget into this one radio program I was listening to on the way back in Tallahassee, and yeah, man.
Speaking of some good radio, I'll delay the game preview even further. I was fortunate enough to drive down. We mentioned last weekend we were in Tallahassee, fortunate enough to be able to stand out on the patios township, but I was fortunate enough on Friday night to be able to tap into the Moultrie County high school football game. Got 2 hours of it because the Georgia-Florida Parkway kind of runs parallel to Moultrie for a good period of time. And, man, that was some of the best radio I've heard in a long, long time. I mean, every stereotype of a high school announcer, just the West Blankenship guy that does the Coffee Town, he's honestly underselling it. He needs to up the over-the-topness all the more. It was nothing short of amazing. So.
That is awesome, man. Shout out to those guys.
Shout out to those guys.
Ingram actually played some for me at the hotel. It was tremendous. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into this. The line currently, I believe, is the Noles by 4.5. Yes, FSU, an 0-4 team, is favored over a Syracuse team that is 3-1. That right there should pique your interest in this preview. Got to tell you. Why? I have some reasons, and I also have some reasons to question it, certainly. And the total in this game is 50, what is it here? 52, probably 51 now. I bet it under earlier. Not that I'm moving lines out there. Yeah, it's 51 and a half at some spots. Anyway, it hasn't moved all that much. Let's go ahead and start. When FSU has the ball, I think that's the side that has a little more intrigue here. And this, of course, is brought to you by the legendary team at Hamilton Home Loans. Shannon and Chad do a tremendous job. Well over 200 Nolecast listeners now have got their loan through the legendary team. 844-FSU-LOAN. That's 844-FSU-LOAN. Great seeing those guys last weekend at the Louisville Game Watch Party listener appreciation event. It was a blast. Wish the game could have been a little more exciting. But I got to tell you, man, FSU, they have a real challenge here in the Syracuse defense. This thing is no joke. It's pretty damn good. It's complex. They know what they're doing. They had a new coordinator, I believe, last year. They've made big-time strides in it. And FSU has some real personnel concerns, right? I mean, obviously, both quarterbacks pretty limited this week in practice. I expect Milton will be the guy, I think. Come Saturday, Jordan wearing that knee brace, not a good sign, in my opinion, as far as him being healthy. Robert Scott, I assume, will give it another go, but he gave up, 4 sacks last week? Not all on him, but a bunch of pressures as well given up. Just very clearly still hurt. I know you think both guards are still ailing. we'll see if Smith can go at the center position. And in previous weeks, I would have just stopped the podcast right there and said, all right, this is all I need to. That's all I need to hear. Right? They don't have a shot to win this game if those guys are out or hurt. This is a little bit different. This is a game that if you're FSU, I do think it's important you go get. Because if you win this one, could you find a way to win 3 or 4? It's crazy I have to say that. Like, I recognize how nuts that sounds, but this is a situation where you could still win the game. And that's because Syracuse does have they have some areas on defense that I think you may be able to exploit somewhat.
They do. I mean, it is it's an interesting thing to say about an 0-4 team, but the matchups in general, I think, are decent for you here. I mean, they kind of run a pretty unique 3-3-5. So you can make certain extrapolations based off of that. But they're going to try to be aggressive. They're going to try to cause chaos. They kind of fit with some of the things that I think you can do with a shorter passing game, to be perfectly honest with you. Now, their linebackers are really active. I think you mentioned in pre-show that they're 4th or 5th in the country when it comes to defensive havoc. So,
not in the conference, in the country.
In the country.
I knew that they create a lot of havoc, but that surprised me. It's like, ooh, yeah, okay.
So they're aggressive in what they try to do, and that is certainly kind of what the whole defense is built around.
Yeah, man. I don't like this matchup for this offense all that much. It concerns me. Syracuse is very good at limiting explosive plays while still bringing a lot of pressure. It's not a great combination because FSU so far, literally the only thing they've done is hit like 7 explosive runs. And I know I was talking to Brendan Sonnone earlier in the week, and I don't want to steal his stats. So obviously Brendan Sonnone knows 24/7. He mentioned to me, and I forgot the exact number here, but I think it's like 7 runs for FSU is accounting for more than half of their total rushing yards on the year. That's kind of crazy.
It's kind of crazy. It's also indicative that you've hit 2 large home runs. But yeah, you're right. It is. Well, that's interesting. So I know that you just said you don't love this matchup. Let me clarify what I was saying, and it's good for us to disagree slightly here. Syracuse, at least up until this point, it'll be interesting to see what they do with a team who can fully prepare for one quarterback, in my opinion. They will let you complete some short stuff. Now, You're right. You mentioned this as well. A lot of that's off screens, but I think you've got – this would be maybe the 1 week of the year that I would wholeheartedly want Milton to be the 2 quarterbacks that I would choose Milton. I think you've got to lean on his decision-making and an arm that can find you space in, 8 yards down the field. He's got to put it in those boxes. And if I was to choose one of the quarterbacks for a defense like this, Milton would be it. Now, obviously, from that statement, we have to talk about tight ends that aren't very good and wide receivers who may not be in the space that they need to be. But I do somewhat like what you can do with your quarterback, who your quarterback here is, and kind of the general framework of the opposition defense and what they give up, or what
I think that's fair.
To this point have let other teams have.
The quickness of the recognition is going to be key for McKenzie Milton, right? Like, he definitely processes the defense faster than Jordan Travis does. And in this game, for sure, I mean, assuming that Milton or that Jordan is still hobbled, I like Milton to me, even if he's kind of a statue, because I don't think he's very healthy either. I think it makes more sense to play him because of the short passing and his ability to get rid of the ball quickly. I agree with you there. Now, Syracuse has not been as good with run defense as it has been with pass defense. That's true. Now, it doesn't mean that they have a bad run defense. They don't have a great run defense, right? I mean, they've had some problems with run defense as far as run defense consistency. You can run the ball on them and stay ahead of the chains, or at least some teams have. Ohio actually did a pretty good job of that. Now, Ohio didn't score in the red zone, but they did a fairly decent job of that. Another guy that did a pretty good job with that, honestly, was Liberty. And then Rutgers Rutgers just kind of Rutgersed it with his million turnovers to beat those guys in the dome. Now, can FSU stay ahead of the chains? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But that to me is going to be a major key in this game. Making sure that you find some success on first down. And look, let's be frank here. FSU has been like one of the absolute worst teams in the country in standard down success rate. They are 123rd in standard down success rate. They are literally dead last in the nation in average yards to go on third down. Dead last, 130. They average 9.5 yards to go on third down. That is nuts.
Oh, that is hilarious.
Yeah.
It's so nuts. I had not heard that before. That's I can only laugh at that stat.
I mean,
well,
yeah, I follow these stats beginning of the week, but
here's the thing about this defense, and maybe you're going there. Here's the thing that scares me. I talked about why I was mildly optimistic. 3rd and 9.5 against this defense, 3rd and 11. You may not just be punting, bud. You may have a quarterback who's chalk lined in the backfield in a fumble with somebody scooping it and score. I mean, if they get you into these type of situations, I'll be fascinated to see what the play calling is, because you have a chance for some really negative big plays. Now, obviously, that's the case all the time. But with a defense like this that's as aggressive and some of the stuff that they draw up, I would, they've got some exotic stuff that's fun. It's fun if you enjoy defense to watch some of the things they do. You could self-destruct purely based off what you do on offense here. If you get put in bad situations and you aren't aware as to pass offs or whatever else may be, I told you why I was kind of like the matchup, and that other side of the coin is where I have some real concerns.
100%. I got to tell you, I don't really hate screens and draws here on long downs. I think this is probably going to be an ugly football game. Okay. You don't have to win this as a thing of beauty. In practice, you probably won't win this as some sort of thing of beauty. And that it could be tough. However, Syracuse, I just talked about how Florida State has one of the absolute worst. Let me pull this up here. Average yards to go. Literally not one of the absolute worst as far as yards to go on third down. Syracuse, interestingly here, defensively, they're 129th in average yards to go on third down faced. So that's 5.5. So literally, Ingram, I'll go out on a limb here. I do not think you will have two teams that are so diametrically opposed in this category play ever again this season.
Mm-hmm.
This is so, I don't see that. That's a weird number to me. Yeah, so just something to look out for. Syracuse really does seem to be very good at not allowing the explosive deep ball on standard downs. Like, they don't really seem to get hit with the play action deep stuff. They don't really give up explosive runs. You're going to have to be disciplined this week. You're going to have to take the short stuff, be patient with these guys. And if you find a way to hit explosive runs, I know I'll get roasted for this in the comment section again, but I do think this staff is actually a really good offensive staff, and they're going to have to smoke and mirrors it again this week, most likely to maybe confuse Syracuse. Another point I want to bring up, though, is that they have faced some teams so far this year that I think are a little suspect offensively. Like, I believe in these stats. Obviously, they're opponent adjusted, so that does matter to me. But I got to tell you, man, Ohio didn't look that great against Louisiana Lafayette, and they moved the ball some on Syracuse, but couldn't score it in the red zone. All right. Rutgers' offense is it's bad. It's like worse than Florida State bad. Rutgers is winning with like a great punter and 5 turnovers a game. It's pretty impressive. Well, I do think they're pretty well coached, but they don't have the horses either. Albany, not really concerned with that. They dropped 62 on Albany. Liberty. Now, they won that Liberty game with a 20% post-game win expectancy. Mm-hmm. So certainly not a dominant performance. Their projected margin was actually -9. Liberty had some success on this defense. They only scored 21 points. They had a couple untimely turnovers and couple fourth down failures, and I think a field goal failure as well. We were watching that game, remember?
Right.
On the laptop, because the hotel didn't get ACC network. So it won't totally shock me if FSU is able to hit a big play. It's not like they have this defense as a force field preventing all big plays. They only played 4 games. Maybe FSU can figure something out here. But using multiple backs in the formation, maybe using more tight ends, although last week it didn't really work very well. Who knows? Maybe you spread these guys out super wide and make them declare where they're coming from and run off that. That's another possibility. I don't really know what they're going to do for that, but have to find a way to be much better on standard downs here, because the one thing I am confident in is that if they get you in 3rd and long, you're screwed. You will not win the game if you're constantly in 3rd and long, unless you just happen to find some way to totally shut down their offense, which I know we'll talk about in a second. They are 8th in sack rate, by the way, in the country as well. I am worried about like the lack of offensive line chemistry here being a problem, you know, like very inconsistent lineup, both in terms of who's in and who's healthy. So like if I had to design an offensive line, it's like, all right, you guys want to do a bunch of like complex like blitz pickups? How about the one that like never plays together? That could be an issue. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. There've been some brief flashes of DLT, to his credit. He's been injured, but normally when you do see a real good pickup, he's involved. I'll put it that way.
I think that's fair.
All right, before we transition over to what it looks like when Florida State is on defense, we'll thank our friends at Congruity. It was great to see Matt Lewis, and even brought up another team member with him out there at Township. Matt's been nothing but a fantastic addition to our team here at the Nolecast, and we are wildly confident that he would be the same for you as well. So you can reach him via email at Noles, Noles, at congruityhr.com. Or you can learn more about Congruity via telephone if that's your preference, 844-247-4100. Again, Congruity, been nothing but great for us and for people now, and it is experiencing your business optimized, and we would encourage you to spend 10 minutes with Matt and see if the partnership can be as good for you as it has been for us.
You know, I was thinking about this. We probably should have talked FSU's defense first, because I know a lot of people aren't happy with it. But I will say, I think that this offense kind of plays into your hands. I think. Now, it'll be important to know the status of Briggs and Cooper, if those guys are going to play, if they're not going to play. I suspect Lovett. I suspect Lovett last week was concussion, just because sunglasses on, towel on the head. Like, so they're not, if you have COVID, they're not gonna let you on the sideline.
Right. Total street clothes, which was surprising. I mean, we talked about it. It was surprising to us. I heard a whisper about Lovett, but look, you hear things throughout the week. I didn't expect total.
You don't know if they're going to go or not go.
Yeah.
So, Dent, meanwhile, I didn't see him on the sideline at all. So I suspect that, maybe we'll see him back in 10 to 14 days from the time of last game, if you catch my drift on that.
So, so that is not a suspension.
I asked about that. They said, no, he's not.
If suspended. You can speak the coded language of the crazy times that we've lived in over the past 2 football seasons. Okay. Well, that makes me feel better. I mean, not that a kid has to deal with that, but that it's a, situation outside his control and was not a VOTR or anything else.
So Syracuse is still running that Baylor style spread where they have the wide, wide receiver splits, and they are not running it particularly well. I will note they are 83rd or 85th this year in the country in SP plus. However, it is a very different looking attack this year than it has been in recent years. They seem to have realized they cannot throw the ball. Their passing game is not quite as bad as FSU's, but it's certainly not great. 93rd in passing success rate. So they're not really dropping back and throwing the ball with a whole lot of consistency there. Neither is FSU. They kind of look like the Noles do in that regard. Their pass protection is poor. They are about as bad as FSU is in that regard. They're 106th in sack rate, 111th in pressure rate allowed. They also have tried to take some play action shots deep, and they're actually allowing 11% sacks on standard downs. So a lot of those have not been able to protect. And as such, they have basically just said, screw it. We are not going to throw the ball. We are going to become like a spread option team. and that is what they're doing. They are not playing with quite as much tempo as they did last year or in previous years. Part of that, I think, is because I think there's probably a couple different reasons for that. But one of them is that they are not running, or they're not throwing the ball very much. They are running the ball a ton, dude. 74% run plays on standard downs. So basically 3 out of every 4 standard down, you're getting a run so far out of Syracuse. That is 12th in the country. And so if you take out the option teams, obviously, because Navy's probably going to throw or run the ball a lot, Army, those type of teams, Syracuse among the non-triple option teams is easily top 10 in the country in standard down run rate. And so that is very interesting to me because I do think that FSU, the one thing they do really damn well so far this year is stop the run. I know Notre Dame had offensive line continuity issues, and Louisville did as well at times, and they have some different challenges with the backs. But who has really run the ball all that well on FSU so far this year? Now, I'm not saying this defense is impenetrable, but if you told me, hey, this is a great passing offense, or hey, this is a great rushing offense, I know which one I'm picking to face.
Yeah, no, in that regard, particularly with who their likely quarterback would be. I mean, this is the type of offense that you want to face if you're Florida State. I mean, I think you couldn't hope for a better pairing with what you have on the inside and some of the strengths of your defense in general. I am even mildly optimistic that you may get a significant play out of your secondary this weekend because of how this pairs up and the quarterback that they may be working with. So this is as good of a matchup on the defensive side as you could hope for. And certainly if you pay attention to where Vegas has this line, this has to be not solely rooted, but certainly largely rooted in the matchup that we're talking about right here.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Look, you need Jermaine Johnson and Kier Thomas and Robert Cooper and hopefully one of Briggs or Lovett to come back and play well. I think Deloche has been playing well for you. Gaynor and Lundy have at times done a nice job filling. Obviously, you'll have Williams back in the secondary, which is an important piece as a safety. Jamie Robinson should be good to go. So, I think you should be fairly capable of defending the run in this game. I will also note we talked about some things. Hey, who has Syracuse really faced offense-wise? But what defenses has Syracuse faced? Now, I'll give them credit. They have faced a pretty good run defense in Rutgers. But as far as the other guys, not really, man. It's not like Ohio has a good run defense. It's not like Liberty has a particularly great run defense this year. So, I'm interested to see what happens here with this. I'm a little, I don't know. It's not like this run game, even though Syracuse is running the ball a lot, they're not really running it great. I mean, they're running it better than FSU is, but almost everybody in the country is doing so. That's not really that hard to do. I'm a little, it wouldn't totally shock me if Syracuse's offense does not do that well. They are starting Garrett Schrader, the quarterback, because he's much better with the run than Tommy DeVito was. Like I said, they really have not had any success in terms of hitting explosive plays on offense. So obviously a bit of a concern there.
If you give them up, hell yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're giving up explosive pass plays to this offense, then right. You've got a secondary that is blowing some fairly significant assignments, or you're just getting beat one-on-one with a kid that's not the type of quarterback that you think would win too many, one-on-one perfectly thrown balls. So, yeah,
exactly.
Good quarterback, decent wide receivers, nothing special.
The Taj Harris kid, they're going to throw the ball to a lot.
Good running back.
Yes.
No, I'm not impressed necessarily with the quarterback. He's certainly there because of his legs. You're right. And Harris is a good prospect, but not somebody that they feature all that much when you look at it as far as what his production's been this year. So,
yeah, they're gonna throw the ball to Harris a lot when they do decide to throw it. This to me is just gonna come with, can you put Syracuse behind the chains? I am not super confident in Syracuse's ability to play with the ball behind the chains. Maybe they can, maybe they can't, but I'm not super confident that they can do so. If Syracuse stays ahead of the chains, they'll probably end that streak of not hitting any explosive plays. They'll probably be able to hit some kind of play action on you because I expect this defense to kind of give that stuff up. But yeah, like they feel like they seem to be fairly confident running the football, and it's just going to be on FSU to take that runaway and see if they can.
Yeah. All right. Anything else we want to touch on, or can we jump into the prediction phase of the podcast here before we answer one or two quick listener questions?
I think we can pretty much go to predictions here. What do you have for us?
I don't see this game being very high scoring, but I see Florida State winning a game 24-19, somewhere in that area. You lower to mid 20s, them pushing the edge of the teens. But I do think Florida State wins this game. Fingers crossed here. If you let this one slip by, you got some real problems. But not that you don't have them if you win this game either. But I feel confident. I think your defense is in a good place here to get you a win at home. And I see Florida State getting their first win of the year.
I will go FSU. Let's go FSU 23, Syracuse 20. Okay. Syracuse 20. So look, guys, I really don't know this first game in a couple of weeks that I really thought FSU had a real shot to win, given who I think is going to play and not play. And that's mainly because I think Syracuse has some real limitations, just like this team does. But they actually have to go out there and do it. And I don't think that, they're going to have to play well because Syracuse has a very good defense so far this year. And it may just be whichever offense makes fewer mistakes. Last week, giving up 11 tackles for loss to Louisville does not really encourage me all that much. So,
yeah. All right, real quickly, listener questions. First one comes from Butch. Butch asked us, "Hey guys, what are your thoughts on the recently announced $20 million earmarked for Doak Campbell Stadium?" That's a good question, Butch. I made a couple of calls and think I have a decent idea as to the situation surrounding this. I mean, this is certainly not a financial windfall for Florida State, right? I mean, this is obviously resources are finite and you would rather be granted 20 million than not. But my understanding is that the genesis of this is some of the surveys that they did in preparation for certainly not the enlargement of Doak, but the reconstruction and some of the renovations that they would be making. Basically, a lot of stuff out of code, a lot of stuff not in line with expected building practices 2021. I mean, that is where a lot of this money is going to kind of bring you up to speed and continuing to allow Doak Campbell Stadium to host really large events and bring in, be a significant breadwinner for the city of Tallahassee in the broader panhandle. But this would be, Bud, if you were to go and open up the mail and see that you had a $20,000 bill and then realize that insurance was going to cover it, right? I mean, this is kind of finding a big expense out of nowhere and then maybe not having to come out of pocket for it. So again, you'd rather have it than not, certainly. I mean, that is relatively clear. But this was not a, going down to the bottom of your driveway and finding a check in the mailbox for $20,000 and you being able to, go buy a new grill and all the other things that I'm sure you would do with that money. So
I would. Okay. That's a, well, I appreciate the answer. It's not really the answer I was hoping for, but I'm glad you dug around on that. That's, guess they got to make sure they're up to code. Don't want to be not up to code, obviously.
Don't want to be not up to code. Next question comes from Whit, and there were a couple questions here involving this subject. It's basically the general idea is Florida State playing, to its level of play, and is Florida State's some of their success based off their opponent adjustments? I mean, that's a conversation that's been out there since our Instant Reaction podcast. Man, I would just say this is a loser conversation. No, Whit, I'm not saying that you're a loser or anything else, but a fan base debating as to, hey, do we suck or do we really suck is not one that I really want to jump headfirst into. Okay. If what we saw in the second half and the end of the second quarter against Louisville is real. That'll be made abundantly clear to us over time, over the next 2-3 weeks. I mean, it's not.
Do you think it's real?
I think that there are faint traces of legitimacy. Okay. I think that you saw some real things. I mentioned in the instant, Jarvis didn't come up and make some real serious tackles because Louisville stopped. Certainly, the move that Jayshon Corbin puts on that safety in the open field, the first or second play of the second half, that's real. And Corbin's I don't want to call him a great back, but has turned into a really good back. And this is from somebody that is been as optimistic about Corbin as probably anybody that follows this team. So I think there's elements of it, but look, it's also just human nature, man. I make it abundantly clear, or at least try to over time. I wasn't a special college athlete. I didn't play at Florida State, but I did play the game. And man, this too, bud, just from high school ball. When you go out and you go touchdown, touchdown, field goal, touchdown, touchdown, it's hard.
I didn't hear you say punt. Did they punt in the first half?
Right. No, I don't think I skipped over that. It's hard not to, just from a mentality perspective, adjust, particularly to a team that you think that you're going to come in and beat, and you go touchdown, touchdown, field goal, touchdown, touchdown. Unless you're some kind of 2013 Florida State machine, Alabama, 2008 to present, whatever it is, it's hard not to maybe slide back into a gear. And then I think Louisville made some decisions to protect their quarterback later in the second half, but. And this is, who gives a damn about this argument? I mean, one, it's going to resolve itself. Two, it's a fan base arguing with itself over, again, as I said, hey, are we bad or are we really bad? That'll clear itself up in the near future.
Yeah, I do want to so I talked about this a good bit on the Tuesday night show. Happy birthday, by the way.
It was my birthday's in April, but it was a birthday gift that was given to me in April. And it was a great concert. It was a lot of fun.
Did you get any birthday wishes on Twitter?
I had a couple people reach out and say, hey, that's my birthday, or that's my wife's birthday, or something else like that. So yeah, I was supposed to be a 420 baby, bud. I think I've mentioned this previously, but I put my mom into 26 hours of labor. So my birthday is April 21st for what it's worth.
Yeah. That is quite a bit.
The
one thing I want to clarify is, I think I said took their foot off the gas, and I don't necessarily mean that Louisville's coaching staff tried to go into a shell. I'm sure Louisville's coaching staff wished that the team would keep their foot down, but I definitely think you can see a lack of intensity there from Louisville coming out. And Louisville's not a great team; they're really nothing special. So, that's my opinion on it. We'll see. I mean, you can make some of these adjustments, which I know they did. I don't think they didn't do. It's not like they didn't do anything differently in the second half. But come on. They also tried to make adjustments in the first half, and they didn't work. And the numbers to me are pretty clear here as far as how far down the field Louisville's trying to throw the ball as well, right? I know that was it was less than half as deep in the second half. Okay. So, it is what it is. I hope that some of their stuff holds true. We'll see how much zone coverage they actually want to play against Syracuse this week, right? They don't tend to pass guys off in zone very well, so maybe they will, be able to play more man and get away with it. Hopefully.
Third and final question, and we've already mentioned our friends at Madison Social and Township and the good time that we had last weekend out there with them, but we'd always encourage you to keep them in the back of your mind. And just as it was great for us for a 3:30 game last weekend, if you're in town, there's no better place to spend the hours leading up to kickoff than our friends there at the end of Madison Street. So Rolando asks, in your opinion, Mike Norvell, or will, in your opinion, Mike Norvell's press conference and the emotional answer he gave be a defining moment in his tenure? Again, I don't want to directly use the same phrase, but this is kind of loser talk as well, just vapid, dumb stuff, in my opinion. And Rolando, I'm certainly not calling you dumb, but guys, we're talking about a press conference. Who cares? I mean, it was great to see him have some emotion if you care about that. But Florida State will not be a successful football team because Mike Norvell gave an impassioned answer at a press conference. Now, at the same time, for the people who are like, oh, well, I want more than words. Well, dog, it's a press conference. He can't give you. He can't go
the
out.
Tebow speech.
He can't go out and kick Corey Clark in the chest as an answer at a press conference. I mean, that is how you have to respond in that moment. So I'm trying to be fair here, but I just think and this is what happens when you're 0-4. There's a bunch of BS being talked about right now. Whether, how good are we? Are we just bad? Whatever else. If you're a Florida State fan, be concerned about the fact that you haven't had an athletic director in 1,136 days. Be concerned of the fact that you haven't had a real athletic director since 2008. I mean, concern yourself with some of the actual problems of the program and not this week to week kind of vapid, meaningless crap as to, whether or not you're just bad or really bad, or whether or not a press conference is a defining moment or a turning moment or whatever else. I think this is all just noise. And, I'm glad a media outlet was able to have a nice, successful clip on that, and good for them. But we won't in 3 years, Bud, if we're either talking about the obituary or the second contract for Mike Norvell, I will reach through the computer and slap you if you try to suggest that this press conference was a turning point in his time, or that anyone outside of people like us gave a damn about it.
Ingram, this is total like first take style forced debate. I think it absolutely is the defining moment, right? We know they clipped that and
I think you need to scream at me louder if that's
Ingram, it was the defining moment, man.
You're stupid. Yeah.
God, how could it not be the defining moment? Didn't you see Tim Tebow say we will not lose another game this year? Isn't this the Tim Tebow moment for Mike Norvell? Oh my gosh.
Look, I heard people who cover this team in message boards label that as an achievement. Bud, as an answer in a press conference, an achievement. What in the hell are we doing? We just need to let's get back to focusing on things that are far more impactful than just surface level horse crap. So that's listeners. Again, I said this, certainly not directed towards the questions we took tonight and the individuals asking them, but a wee bit frustrated with some of the general buzz about that people are concerning themselves with right now.
Do you know what I would be concerned about? If Mike Norvell got that question and messed up the answer.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, he's going to be speaking from the heart, right? He's going to be saying, hey, this is what it is, and this is how it works. We want guys to come in, be unique, be self-driven, etc. And that's just kind of what he said. But no, I get it. It just seems like kind of, I don't say, but kind of meaningless, like with so much other stuff going on.
I think it's kind of meaningless. Complete agreement there. Yeah.
All right. So I think we're done.
Yeah, I mean that was a short preview, but hopefully one that we're right about. Optimistic.
We both picked losses in back-to-back weeks, so it felt good to pick a win. It'll feel even better if we're having to flip a coin as to who does a victorious instant reaction podcast. That would be great. I will take this one,
but yeah,
on Saturday.
That's fair. After doing 3 losses in a row,
it's in our contract that you have to do all losses,
right?
I think, unless I'm in the stadium.
I've got to talk to my attorney. You slipped a clause in there that I was not familiar with, and I will happily talk to mental health professionals to add a little bit of legitimacy to my argument that old poor feeble-minded Ingram doesn't need to be doing depression conversations.
That's some unfair working conditions for you.
Yes, it's very, very. I've got to talk to who owns and operates this business around here. Let's figure out what's going on. So
complaint box is over there.
Yeah.
Did you see that, by the way? Did you see this Miami catch?
No.
He's catching the Virginia game?
No, I did not.
So I don't know who the guy is for Miami, but he goes up to make the catch, and he basically he falls down in the end zone. The ball pops off his chest, and it falls into the lap of the Virginia player who's also laying in the end zone for a touchdown. And then Miami gets an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, which looked like it was going to be one of the most hilarious type unsportsmanlike conducts because, which is always player gets mad at the ref, and then another ref comes and says it's actually incomplete, and then it's still a first down because you got the unsportsmanlike conduct. But they went to review and they called it a touchdown, so it is 27-14 Virginia. Miami has actually hung a little bit tough. They're being outgained 358-116, but UVA can't seem to punched the ball in frequently enough here in this one. Anyway,
Yeah.
Derek King's out and Garcia's out. We'll see if King plays again this year.
Yeah.
We got a comment or question about that. Did you hear that on the Tuesday show?
I listened to your Tuesday show, and that'll be.
I can't confirm that, but obviously, if he doesn't play, then that game is more winnable. I guess, like a fired up FSU team at home with a good defensive line.
I mean, look, I do think there's relatively speaking, a lot of winnable games left on the schedule. Now, a lot is probably too big of a phrase for me to use, but certainly more than we would have expected going in. And
like, is Boston College winnable? Like, they looked fairly good in beating Missouri, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's tough, but
it's tough. But I do believe that if you can get a victory, and if you can even string together consistent, competent showings where you're not EKGing from one quarter or one half to another, you might start to see a little bit of general improvement. And you're always going to have your limitations based off, go back and listen to seconds, 35 through 8 minute mark if you want to see why you're only going to be so good. But I do think that there's a chance for this team to have a relatively nice little finish to the year. May not be reflected purely in wins and losses, but I do think that there could be a nice bounce back, if that's the right phrase.
If they get healthy.
If they get healthy, and if like last week, I had real considerations or real concerns that a starter on the offensive line wasn't going to play because of injury. Ended up playing. That was part of the pessimism that I had on Thursday night when we recorded that podcast. You got a lot of guys that are. I'll give credit. Look, Dylan Gibbons, a kid in the transfer portal. It is my belief that kid's playing hurt and giving all that he can. Obviously, your right tackle is, and DLT's been limited all year. You've got some guys on the line of scrimmage that at the very least are trying to gut through it. So I will tip my hat to them for that, if nothing else.
No doubt. All right, buddy. Well, I guess I won't see you on Saturday because we'll probably just one person doing the instant. But talk to you again on Monday.
Enjoyed it.